Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of Parliament. My name is Solomon Zulu, Revenue Auditor.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members of Parliament. Good morning, CG. My name is Charles Msonda Namakando, Senior Auditor, Office of the Auditor General.
Good morning. My name is Luvinda Sinyani, Planner from Office of the Auditor General.
Thank you. Accountant General's Office and followed by the Office of the Controller can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable members. Good morning, PS. My name is Ms. Madisawa, representing the Office of the Accountant General. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of Parliament. Good morning, PS. My name is Jenny Mukua, Director Audit Operations from Controller of Internal Audit, sitting in for the Controller, and I'm accompanied by Christopher Matumba, Senior Internal Auditor. Thank you.
Thank you. Parliamentary clerks, you can proceed.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Priska M. Shimalungu from the Office of the Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, everyone. My name is Leon Hangala from the Office of the Clerk. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, all. My name is Wizo Zimba from the Office of the Clerk.
Thank you. Do you have media? No media. PS and your team, WC Mwambazi, Member of Parliament from Bwanamkubwa constituency, from Undola District. I'm the chairperson of this committee. I'll allow you quickly to proceed and introduce your team.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, members of Parliament. My name is Prudence Kauma. I'm the Acting Permanent Secretary for Planning and Administration in the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, as well as the Controlling Officer.
Honorable Chair, good morning, honorable members. My name is Tingani Banda, Commissioner General for Zambia Revenue Authority. Thank you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, PS. Good morning, CG. And good morning, honorable members of the committee. My name is Kimba Philemon. I'm the Director of Finance at the Ministry of Finance.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, everyone. I'm Susan Zimba Banda, Board Secretary and Legal Counsel, Zambia Revenue Authority. Thank you.
Thank you for the introductions. PS and your team are conferred with immunity in accordance with Cap 12 of the laws of Zambia, which gives you immunity and as you make submission or answer before this honorable committee. Honorable colleagues, I'll ask the Vice to introduce herself since we are not here, and then the member who has just joined us, and if there's any other member who's joining us virtual can introduce themselves. So Vice Chair can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Good morning, PS and your team. I'm Jacqueline Sabao, Member of Parliament for Chikankata constituency. I'm also the Vice Chairperson of the Public Accounts Committee. You are welcome.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Nicholas Mukumbi, Member of Parliament for Solwezi West constituency in Kagumbira District, member of this committee.
Thank you. Honorable colleagues, we had a submission from the PS Planning and Administration from the Minister of Finance on paragraph 37, which is on the sector of Zambia Revenue Authority. So I'll ask that we proceed as guided in terms of questioning, as it were, from the submission which was made yesterday, budgets again actual revenue collection, so we can proceed and ask questions. Honorable Lumai, and if I remember, Honorable Wamnyima had a question on this aspect as we were doing our orientation. I think that question can come up. So Honorable Lumai, you can proceed with your question.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And thank you, PS and your team, for this submission. Mr. Chairman, I want to take the PS to A, budget against the actual collection. I've taken note, Mr. Chairman, that the response by Minister of Finance in responding to why they under-collected, their concentration is on the decline in the average copper prices, non-payment of tax liabilities. But when you get to the table, Mr. Chairman, you find that there was zero collection on the excise duty on non-alcoholic beverages. There was also zero collection on the export duty on maize. There was also zero collection on excise duty on coal. You find there was when we come to export duty hides, I think there was no estimate, but they collected 182. So there are those inconsistencies. So I want to understand why their response is only concentrating on copper and not these other things which you budgeted to collect. So maybe if they can bring the committee to speed so that we can understand why we had this under collection. Mr. Chairman, I submit.
Thank you. Honorable Amnima, are you?
Chair, I just want to understand these targets that you set as collection. What informs them? That you shall collect so and so, and yet you are not collecting. So why do you, what informs this target? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other question before I ask Honorable Mwila can proceed?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, looking at the overall underperformance in terms of collection, we were here last year looking at the 2022, and the same lines that performed better, for example, pay as you earn, have continued to do that, and the same lines that performed badly, especially relating to company income taxes, revenues from the mines, mineral royalty, have continued to underperform. And the reasons seem to be repeating themselves, especially for the mines. Operational challenges, The last time there was even operation challenges saying in South Africa there was a flood, parts could not come, so mines could not perform. Again, we are referring to operational challenges. But the bottom line is that the income from the mines keeps declining. Mineral royalty and others keeps declining. I don't know what the authority has them to be taking into consideration when setting estimates of revenues from the mines. I know the other part, maybe the Minister of Mines may have an answer why mines keep giving excuses for not meeting up to the expectations. But we seem not to be making progress as far as revenue collection is concerned. Shouldn't then the authority refocus? Maybe it's the estimates that are not accurately being done, giving hopes to Zambians that this revenue and so much will come, and yet ultimately we keep going down. Shouldn't the authority be refocusing how they come up with these estimates of revenues relating to the mines? I submit, Chair.
Thank you. PS, those three questions from the honorable members. I'm sure you can delegate them to CG to answer them, or if you want, you can pick them and answer them. You can proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, honorable members, for highlighting those very important elements of the report, and also relating to the responses that we gave. I'll ask SG to proceed with maybe providing responses to the questions, and if there's need for others to come in, I think, Chair, I seek your indulgence to be allowed for us to do that.
Thank you. CG, you can proceed.
Thank you very much, honorable members, for those three questions. So I'll take you to table 3, which Honorable Maya has rightly referred to. When you look at table 3, it's got about 24 tax types there, and the estimate was about 2.5 billion. What was collected was 24.4 billion. The deficit is 8.1 billion. Now, when you look at the tax types that are contributing to this deficit of 8.1 billion, you see that company tax has a deficit of 6.3 billion. The next one is mineral royalty, has a deficit of 1.2 billion, adding to 7.6 billion out of the 8.1 billion. That's 93.8% of the deficit is just coming from those two tax types. So in terms of materiality, you can see that the larger contributor in terms of the underperformance is coming from company tax and mineral royalty. And within company tax, the main contributor there is mining company tax. That is the one that contributed to this huge deficit that we are seeing here. Hence our explanation focusing on the material part of the underperformance, which accounts for about 93.8% of the factors. And as I indicated, there are variables that contribute towards the performance of these tax types. If you talk about mining sector in terms of tax contribution, when the minister reads the budget speech, I believe PS will build on this later, there are macroeconomic assumptions that are made. And even in the background when formulating, there's microeconomic assumptions that are made. The key ones that are relating to the performance of these tax types are, what assumptions are we making on the production of copper in the period that we're budgeting for? The second one, which is of interest to this, is what price are we projecting for copper in the period? Now, if the outcome is at variance with what you projected, then you see the tax type underperforming. And this is the explanation that we are giving in our narration there. So, honorable members, the key drivers, like we are seeing copper production, copper price, these are key drivers. Honorable, we are here again in 2022. It wasn't a bad story then. copper production was much higher, around 800,000 plus. Copper price was much higher. We came that year with a positive story that these tax types have performed. So you can see that depending on these two variables, which are totally outside the control of both tax administration and even the policymakers. That's why it's key. I think the minister has consistently insisted that as a country, we need to focus on improving production. The copper price may be good, but if production is low, we won't realize the benefits, and that's what is showing in the numbers. So increasing copper production is a very fundamental reform that we need to undertake as a country, especially that we are in an environment where copper is one of the critical metals, and the projection is that the price is likely to go up. So these two variables are fundamental in terms of the performance of the tax type, hence our explanation going there. Then the income from the mines, the Honorable indicated that it keeps declining. Like I have insisted, if the production is low, we can't collect much. So if you look at copper production in the past 2 years, it has been going down. But now at least we are seeing the third quarter of this year and the second half of this year, things are starting to turn around. And with a projection in the expansions that are taking place in the mining sector that by the second half of the year, next year we're going to have more copper production in terms of some mines coming on board. We expect that to reflect also in the numbers. So as long as copper production is low, we are likely to have this scenario where the collections are not as expected. At a high level for now, I'll leave it there. Maybe the press can address the other issue of what informs the targets. I submit, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Lumai, follow-up question, and Honorable Mwila, follow-up question, then we'll proceed.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, before the PS comes in, or maybe I'll expect the answer from the PS being in charge of this ministry. The response by CJ is exactly to my question that why is the response concentrated on mining, yet according to their estimates, excise on non-alcoholic beverages 29.652, but the whole year you collected is 0, and other things which I mentioned. Is it your submission that during the year under review, ZRI did not collect anything on this? I submit, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Mwila.
Thank you, Chair. Again, before the PS comes in, I want to find out the reasons. I think this is both to ZRI and the ministry. These reasons that are given by the mines, other than, of course, the London Metal Exchange, because we are able to see it's in public. But these reasons of major operational challenges, does ZRI dig deeper to go and verify and confirm that yes, indeed, there was this with the expertise that is required to go and confirm the reasons that the mines keep advancing? They can't pay tax, liquidity problems. How is the authority and the Ministry of Finance convinced? Do they have the expertise go into these mines and verify that indeed these challenges are valid, and we can put them in the document as an excuse? Because there has been all these suspicions, for example, Chair, that some of these production numbers that the mines share may actually be under-reported. How do we verify that the production numbers that the mines communicate to the government are actually the true reflection of what is happening on the ground? I submit.
Thank you. Through the PS, maybe CG, you can address those two questions.
Thank you. On the question from Honorable, my apologies for that. But if you look at some tax types, for example, the main working of export duty on maize, these were suspended. So I just need maybe the team to verify on the others on where we have zeros. The most likely scenario, like I've given an example of maize, is that the statutory instrument was suspended at that time. I don't know if you have any addition, but please go ahead.
Yes, CG, we may need to verify why in that particular period there was action on excise on coal, because it's actually it's excisable, and we collect tax at 5%. But for that period in particular, there is need for us to verify why exactly the amount is zero.
Okay. All right. So just give us a few minutes. In fact, within the course of the session, our team will check in the background to the periods. Now, coming to the questions of the tax challenges. That this was also a reason, Honorable, we gave summoned the chief executives of those mines to come and explain. And those challenges continued, I think they're just being resolved this year. So this is the continuation of the problem that we explained last year, and your committee called those mines to give their own version of the challenges that we're explaining in terms of the performance. But overall, it has to indicate that where, for example, other mines have reported floods and so forth, we've had one of the mines, we visited them earlier this last year to check for ourselves what challenges on the ground and so forth. But the most important issue, like we've kept on emphasizing, what we need as a country is an end-to-end verification of the mineral value chain. And that's where the issue of the regulator comes in. Zambia needs a regulator like yesterday for the mining sector, so that we're able to know who's has a license, are they producing minerals or not, how much are they producing, what is contained in those minerals. If a mine reports a challenge, the regulator must quickly move on the ground and verify all these issues, because that's the other side of the value chain that we need to closely monitor. Chair, for now, I can submit at that high level. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable Mnyuma, is that a hand?
Chair, I'm just waiting for the answer from the PS, but maybe as she answers, she could also help us. Last year's national budget, the projections were 79% domestic revenue to fund the budget. Now, since ZRA under-collected, what did you do as a ministry? What happened?
Thank you. PS, maybe you can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. I think the question the Honourable Member asked related to what informs our targets initially. Partly, I think SG sort of touched on them, the answers. I'll just indicate that the policy framework for setting the targets for revenues come from the macroeconomic framework that is done by the Ministry of Finance and National Planning. The framework looks at developments in the external sector, developments in the globally, as well as in the region, as well as how the economy has performed in the recent years, as well as how we forecast the performance of the macroeconomy to be in the following year. So this macroeconomic framework is the one that helps us to set targets for revenues. We look at the business environment that is envisaged, how the real sector is expected to grow, and generally the sentiments around certain sectors, because we also do consultations, as you are aware, Chair and members, before we do the budget from the stakeholders concerning what their views are. And I think the mining sector and others are among the stakeholders that are engaged before we set the targets, to get their views about how their environment and whether there is appetite for further investment in the economy. So in a nutshell, we use the macroeconomic parameters of framework to set the targets involving the things that I've just mentioned. Further, I think there was a question around the fact that do we monitor what the mines are doing. Chair, I think through the Ministry of Mines, as well as the Ministry of Finance and National Planning, we do undertake engagements with the mines, and I wish to report that even just this quarter, the Minister, so in that engagement is continuous, Chair. It is done. Like as she said, I think we may need to strengthen the value chain system so that the monitoring is continuous and also strengthened through various, I think, mechanisms that are needed. So I think in terms of commitment towards engagement with the mines and understanding the issues they are facing, as well as ascertaining what's going on there in terms of production and operational issues, we are actually engaged. Chair, there was a comment around the projection of 79% being targeted from domestic revenues, which I believe, among others, sector and other sectors. Chair, I wish to state that the targets are set, yes, based on certain assumptions, as already highlighted. Once those targets that have been set are not achieved, of course, there are other arrangements that are put in place to make sure that there is reprioritization, for instance, to make sure that the core programs and interventions are sort of allocated resources, and resources are dispersed to those. And if there is a shortfall in terms of meeting the planned revenue objectives or targets, then this is where we see that certain items may not be fully funded as planned. I would like to just say that these are estimates that are done and forecasts depending on the parameters or assumptions that we may have envisaged. But based on the actual performance, then we do make prioritization decisions around how we manage the budget. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. I think there was a follow-up question from, has your question, Honorable Mai, been answered? Yes.
I think, Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, maybe we can proceed, but I would submit that it hasn't yet been answered. So,
want it answered. Maybe just perhaps also PS. I think this issue of targets and focus, I think are not coming, starting emanating from now. I think even from other sittings we've had them. I think also it's important because if you've got a focus and it's not attainable, or sometimes it's achieved or not, I think it's also very important to look at your parameters on if it's your microfinancing schemes or whatever projections you are using. If you're not achieving them, then where do we need to relook at and see what indicators as it were, so that at least we are either achieving them or we're closer. We don't basically just mean on issue of ZRA collection, but I think overall, the Ministry of Finance, issues of focus, you come, you have to redo them, you have to relook at this and things like that. I think it's very, very important that even you as Minister of Finance, you relook at those, some of those, your focus. Because you find some of your officers, it's just a copy and paste. It should keep going. If you factor in it's a 10% or change, let's see, it keeps going. So it's the same. So if you ask them, why do you do this? Perhaps some people don't even understand. It started from there and they've just kept carrying it. So I think it's important to review holistically and look at it, if it's making sense for us and if we are moving forward, because you are the technocrats we are relying on to inform us, and now we as lawmakers, then we start now talking about the focus and being it in the budgets which you've given us as the Ministry of Finance. I think for me that was just a comment. AG.
Thank you so much, Chair. I think the CG mentioned two issues which caught my attention. The first one is the strengthening of the value chain, and then the second one is the setting up of a regulator. I want to find out, are there some discussions around these two issues?
Thank you. CG, maybe you can just comment on that.
Well, thank you. I'll comment, though I know it's a role of our policymakers.
Yes.
But just to indicate that we, as ZRA, we were part of the Mineral Value Chain project for a number of years, and the exit strategy was that as the project ends, it should form a regulator for the mining sector. And our involvement has continued working through the Ministry of Mines and Mineral Development, where the proposed legal framework now was before, actually there's a process before Parliament that is looking at that. But in the background, we've formed the project team headed by, the project management committee is headed by the Permanent Secretary for Ministry of Mines and Mineral Development. I am the vice chairperson for that committee, and it has got a number of other institutions. That's public sector institutions and also private sector, including Zaki, Chamber of Mines and so forth, which is now looking at the process towards the formulation of the regulator. As a matter of fact, a week ago we had our project management committee meeting, and this week I think we are sponsoring next week some stakeholders, including members of Parliament. They are going to Tanzania, among others, to see how a regulator works in Tanzania, so that when they come back to discuss it, we are well informed. So it's a work in progress, but it's a very important reform that we need to undertake as a country. I submit. And Chair, maybe on the floor, on the positive side, we looked at the deficit, remember, was 8.1 billion. On the positive side, domestic VAT, which has been giving problems for a number of years, posted a positive variance, both domestic VAT and import VAT. I think it was 70 million and 3.6 billion. That is what reduced the deficit from 8.1 billion to 2.5 billion as at end of the year. So it's not all gloomy. On the other side, the tax type that has been giving us problems for several years turned around last year. I submit, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, CG, and I hope you are carrying some of my members to Tanzania, so that when you bring that issue before the committee on the lighter note, Vice Chair can proceed.
Thank you, Chair. Understanding the new Dawn government, we are looking at a point where our budget should be funded by local resources. But looking at this table 2, it does not give me confidence, because I've heard in the recent past, most of the time, ZRA is saying that they've exceeded the limits of their target. But this table does not give that picture. Does it mean that those statements we always hear are just cosmetic? Because if we always exceed the limit, it means that we are able to fund our own budget, unlike borrowing. So may I be guided by the PS?
Thank you, Honorable Amnima.
Chair, I'm looking at page 5 of this submission by the PS, and on pay as you earn, you are saying government ministries and departments are the majority of the taxpayers that did not submit returns. I don't know if I'm jumping the gun, Chair.
Non-payment of tax liabilities?
Yes.
No, it's I think those were the responses, so I think you can question on.
Yes. So what I want to understand is, you are saying that you've undertaken several workshops with which ministries are these that are defaulting? That after undertaking workshops to remedy this non-compliance, they accounted for 1,734 out of the total extraction. So, and these workshops you've undertaken, I mean, Chair, I just want to understand, because government, we don't expect government to be the one defaulting, and yet you keep spending money on workshops. Which ministries are these?
Thank you, Honorable Mkumbi.
So I can move to page 5, right? That's where we are, right?
Honorable Amnima, on page 5, we are now dealing with payment not accompanied by tax returns.
Exactly.
Oh, no, I think I misguided you. I thought you are talking about non-payment of tax liabilities because we had not concluded on that matter. But if you ask that one, I think Honorable Mkumbi can proceed. Then I will ask a question based on this one.
Phase 5, thank you, Chair. Chair, I'm looking at payments not accompanied by revenue returns. I note from your submission under Roman numeral 1, VAT returns, where you are saying investigations of the extraction by the Auditor General's Office reviewed that 94,681 payments. Now, when you look at the query itself, it's talking about 9,841 payments without accompanying tax returns. What's your comment on that one? We are looking at the 9,841 that had no accompanying tax returns. Secondly, under minimum royalty, you are saying the authority has put up some measures to remedy the royal compliance. Here you are looking at small scale mining companies. And one of your measures that you have put in place is to establish a dedicated mining department. So my question is, are the 77 duly employed and performing their functions that you have indicated there? Are they working? Number 2, you are saying you are conducting familiarization tours or monitoring activities under your bullet number 4. If this committee did ask for a report, a compliance report, would you be kind to show us one? Remember, we are a committee of facts, and we sometimes are very practical. If we asked, show us one report done by this particular grouping, would you be kind to show us one? Shall I submit?
Thank you. I'll allow CG to answer through the PS, and because I think Honorable Mukumbi has asked one question in 3 questions, so maybe we can tackle those together with Honorable Mnima's question. I think the one in charge of mines, whatever, I think I had some introduction. Maybe CG is looking for you. You come closer where there's a mic so that you can help to answer. Maybe you can give me that chair, the first chair there. Yeah, can give me that first chair. So you can go that side, that first chair.